There is a right weight for every individual. Only you can decide what that weight should be for your body. Likewise, how to reach and maintain your correct weight is up to you. One way is to add calories to your exercise and diet regimen. Why? Because calories is a clinically tested, naturally sourced, stimulant-free dietary supplement that can give you the edge in managing your weight. 10 years of research has shown calories' superior fat-binding properties can reduce up to 500 calories a day from the fat in foods you eat. 2 calories tablets taken with any meal containing fats will absorb and eliminate up to 9 times their weight in fat without side effects. Calories needs no prescription and is available at your local GNC, Walgreens, and soon CVS store or online at calories.com. That's CALOREASE.com. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Blog Talk Radio.
Wake up, it's time to go, shake the dust off your head. Lifetimes you've been waiting here so long. Open up the shutters, cast away the chains to the prison walls that leave you hanging on. Clinging to some cup, half empty victimhood of fate.
And thank you for joining me here today on Activating Compassion Radio. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I'm your hostess. And the music you were listening to at today's show, the beginning there, was called Wild Love, and that is by today's guests, Jim and Ashley Cash of Woven Green. And it's a little bit noisy where I am. Yeah, it's a little bit more noisy than what I expected today, but I think everybody in this town that I'm sitting in, which is right on the edge of San Francisco, is here talking and having conversations, and I think this is kind of the biggest gathering place in town right now. But it's beautiful. I have to say welcome to the show from the Bay Area of California. I am in the San Francisco Bay Area, a little tiny town just on the outskirts to the south end of it, and I have to say the trees are flourishing here. The hillsides are green. I got to see some cherry blossom trees opening up and some apple trees with the flowers coming out on the way up here. So I'm so excited because this weekend I'm starting my first Adventures of Integration for the year, for this year's tour anyways. So starting off with the seasonal New Year, it's very, very powerful. Welcome to everybody, whether you're returning or joining us here for the very first time. We do stream live in 3 additional places: Talk Stream Live, Stream Finder, and PEN, also known as Pair Encounters Network. And we welcome everyone listening through there as well, in addition to those people who are catching our podcast through TuneIn.com, iTunes, and those catching the YouTube version of the show. Here at Activating Compassion Radio, what I do is I look at the different ways that compassion exists in our lives. I look at the how to remove our blocks and resistances and frustrations. And some weeks I discuss different aspects of compassion, how it's in our life, how it affects our life, the different areas of compassion. Sometimes I have more exercises and practical implementation. And a lot of times I have great guests. And I'm working on something new this year, starting with today, this seasonal year. And that is for each turning point of the season, I'm focusing on bringing a musical guest in. Now, I've had musical guests in the past: Stephen Halpern, Peter Cater, Joe Matson, a whole bunch of great people. Bruce Ciccarelli has been on the show in the past. And this year, I'm coordinating my musical guests with the turning points of the year. So today, Jim and Ashley Cash with Woven Green is coming on. May 1st, I have beautiful etheric voice Angelia Grace from Ireland will be with us, and working on some others for the other upcoming work. So I'm so excited about taking this flow this year. In my own work, what I do is I focus on helping people find and use compassion in their everyday life. I've created the Genesis Clearing Statement, and if you've missed that, you can catch that through some of the archives or where other people have interviewed me. I've authored 4 books, most recent being New Me Life Dreams and its companion workbook, as well as my first 2, Activating Compassion and its companion workbook. In addition, I've created the Compassion Tour, which I'm on right now. It's a multi-state nationwide tour, including workshops, retreats, seminars, book signings, gradually building in those fundraising events. I'm also doing some healing work of the earth as I go along in the different areas, depending on what they need. Last year, I worked with different things with the glaciers and with the oceans clearing on the Pacific region for what happened with Fukushima, healing the sinkholes and the potholes back in Pennsylvania last year, working on the tick infestations in the East Coast region and the Northeast, and working on beetle infestations in the mid-regions around the Black Hills area. So lots of different pieces that we have coming together here with this tour. And it's varied, so you can check all of what's happening with that out on my website, Jessie Ann Nichols George, the1.com, and just so very excited about that. And just a reminder, if anybody enjoys the show today, make certain you share it with people, whether it's family or friends or just your Facebook connections or social media, because this is going to be a really incredible show, and this is kicking off some amazing energy for our seasonal New Year, and I'm really flowing with the cycles and seasons more than ever this year. So this is a powerful show. I know you're going to want to share it, and I know that every time I share a show, people go, oh my gosh, I was just looking for something like this, or this is exactly what I needed, and this musical guest was perfect for being able to draw on this energy, and I think you're going to find that particularly so with today's guest. And they can just go right onto my website, on my page of the Main Street Universe tab. I keep all the archive shows there. They can also catch it as a podcast through iTunes, TuneIn.com. They can use the same link that you use to get into the show. And in about a week or two, that's usually about what it takes me to get it up onto YouTube. I will have it available in that format as well. So whatever their preference is, they've got an option for listening to it. Now, those that have listened in before, they know that I'd like to delve into a little book called The 72 Names of God, Technology for the Soul, and that's by Yehuda Berg, a great Kabbalah master. And Yehuda, I love his work because he puts things into everyday language for us. You know, he applies it to everyday life, and that's what I do with my work. And the message that he has for us today, or the common name of God that he's got for us today, is into action. And this one is just perfect for the equinox. I mean, I just try to go through, and whatever shows up from week to week is what I use, but it's always amazing how it applies really well. So this is going to be fun. Thoughts into action. And the initial message we have here is typically, because of our own inaction, worthy goals and daring dreams never materialize. We procrastinate, we lose our passion, or we simply give up. Our best ideas remain unrealized hopes. Our thoughts never become actualized. Kabbalah has an explanation for this. And then he goes on to provide the insight that our dreams and aspirations are rooted in the purity of the upper world, but our actions take place here in the material dimension, where a seemingly infinite variety of impediments can get in our way. Everything from doubts and fears, mortgage payments, and credit card debts. We are often inspired by brilliant thoughts, innovative ideas, and lofty goals. But we need to follow through and close the deal. If this doesn't happen, if our intentions fail to manifest, it's a clear sign that we've lost our connection to the upper world. And the meditation that he gives us, and before I go into the meditation, I have to say this is so appropriate to today, the spring equinox with the solar eclipse happening, and we're on a new moon to boot, and it's all culminating. So, and this is the seasonal new year. So if ever there was a time for new beginnings and stopping that procrastination, this is it. The procrastination is part of the past. We've finished the 7th of the 7 Pluto-Uranus squares, and that culminated on the 17th of this month, a couple of days ago. And it is time to leave all those past distortions behind us and to step into these new things and to not give up on the dreams and the passions, because this is the time we can manifest it. The heavy restrictions are off of us, and we can move forward now. And my guests are definitely going to be sharing their work as their passions and dreams, and that's just amazing. So it does definitely tie in here, and I want you to think about that today in particular. What seeds are you going to plant and follow through on and nurture and harvest this year throughout the seasonal new year that are your passion and your manifestation? Now, the meditation he follows up with on this is, you are now reconnecting and reuniting the upper and lower worlds through the power of this name. By bringing these realms together, you find courage and commitment to accomplish your goals and achieve your dreams. Your thoughts become actualized, and your best ideas are transformed into action and then into concrete results. So again, the common name today is Thoughts into Action, and the formal name of this, and Memvete. So you can go on and you can reflect on this throughout the week. It's again on my page of the Main Street Universe tab on my website, Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I do that all the time. I go back and reflect on the messages of the week and say, okay, now what were we going to do there, or what are we focusing on this week? Because I love to just keep touching base with that and give it a full emphasis. Now, a little thought here before we go on break and bring our guests back on, because like I said, this is a treat for you today. Do seasons really have a sound or music that resonates with them? Do you find yourself drawn to different types of music at different times of the year? And does different types of music herald a vibration that can be used to plant seeds, create, harvest, and offer serenity? Certainly, I have looked at some of these aspects in previous posts, and looking at how society and cultures can be encoded in music, brainwave patterns, and sound healing. However, beyond all of these things, I've noticed it also seems to connect with different seasons and aspects of ourselves. For me, however, this is the music and the musician. When the musician is in alignment with the music they are creating, there's not only a synergy with spirit and divine presence, but also an alchemy or sort of magic that happens. And we notice this in the songs that we listen to that stir emotions within us, or when a song that a musician performs stirs them so deeply that perhaps they can't hold back a tear. And in watching performers play, there are those that sing to perform, those that enjoy their music and the crowd, and those that deeply and personally feel what they do. It is in this feeling and emotion and the emotional connection with the music that people stop and listen. The musician seems to transcend time and space when this connection is made. Now, I have even observed an aspect of channeling spirit in a way that absorbs them so much into the music, there is no concern of the crowd. They no longer are concerned about what the crowd is doing or thinking, and spirit is just flowing, and they are experiencing that. Also, when I watch musicians, I notice energy vibrations for them, and when their personal vibration matches that of the music, they play another level of alchemy that seems to happen. It doesn't matter if their energy is light and playful or intense and deep, but what does seem to matter is if it is their true essence. Now, a lighthearted Irishman playing Irish ditties matches, but that same person playing a deep, slow, solemn piece has a contradiction that can even send a vibration of conflict instead of flow, like they are forced in the action. When I think of spring, the season upon us right now, starting today, I think of the work of Jim and Ashley Cash of Bowling Green. The flow between them as a married couple and the essence of their energy seems to speak spring all over the place. There's a freshness, a zest for life that is ready for action. There's a deep, heart-centered spark of love that flows between them, like the masculine and feminine energy dancing in loving play and embrace. A sincerity and devotion that can see through the work and effort that leads to the harvest. Spring energy in music is so important to have as we enter the seasonal new year. It is our spring energy that opens the doors and plants the seeds for what will develop in this world. It is the music that we embrace at this time that will bring forth our next harvest and open the doors to enjoying the abundance of spirit. It is a life force of creation that will give birth to a new generation. And it is the present moment that sets all things in motion. It allows our wisdom and insight to once again go into motion. It is a passion that flows through all areas of life. What music are you drawn to at spring? Does the music and musician of what you listen to resonate with the season? Does the music and musician of what you listen to have an alchemical synchronicity, flow, and connection? Or is it just music played by a musician and words being sung without real feeling? This week, our guest is focusing on a component of compassion that's related to the aspect in Michael's of creating a new world. And this reminds us that we have choice in what we will create, and that whatever actions we choose, we are creating something. The only real question is, what will we actually choose to create? I'm going to take a little break, and when we return, I'll have Jim and Ashley Cash. They're going to be sharing their work as musicians and their passion for the earth and what we are doing with it. The song that I have for you during our break today, I'm actually going to do a little piece here, and I'm actually going to do, I think, a live piece here as I do this. And it's called Across the Bridge, because I think that's appropriate. We're going across the bridge right now in the spring equinox. We're leaving behind us the old patterns and our old lifestyles and our old thought forms, and we're starting anew today. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back. You are listening to Activating Compassion Radio. My name is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and I'm your hostess today. You were just listening to a song by today's guest. It's called A Courage, and it's by Jim and Ashley Cash of Woven Green. And they are a married couple that have devoted their lives to writing and performing the music of Woven Green. Jim is a prolific songwriter and a strikingly versatile guitarist and multi-instrumentalist. His wife is a powerful and captivating singer, guitarist, and percussionist. Together, the two of them create a magical alchemy that is truly uplifting and inspiring. Their music ranges from contemporary folk rock singer, songwriter to ambient soundscape journeys using a combination of their own field-recorded nature sounds, Native American flutes, percussion, and various stringed instruments. Their partnership, music, and message is sure to empower and entertain. And we're looking today at their music, the meaning and purpose behind it, and the projects that they are passionate about. And you can definitely learn more about their work, click into their music, purchase their music on their website, www.wovengreenmusic.com. And Jim and Ashley, it is so wonderful to have you here today, and I'm so grateful to have your time on the equinox because I know you have stuff going on tonight as well.
Oh, it's wonderful to be on your show. We're so excited and grateful.
Yes, thank you for having us on.
Absolutely, and it was a beautiful introduction. I was contemplating that alchemical connection that you were talking about between the musician and the audience and the energy that's transmitted when the musician's really in the flow and is not concerned about what's happening so much on the outside environment. They're truly in the music, and the music is then playing them. And I have to admit, when we first started playing, I had horrible stage fright. I was terrified of going on stage, but I knew that I had to, express this music, and so I had to face my fears and really, get over that and put myself out there, under this duress, and realize that it was really just, a shadow of my ego that was, causing the fears in the first place. But eventually, as I started playing, I got more comfortable with being on stage, and I remember the first time having sort of that moment where I wasn't thinking about the crowd and perceptions and energies and all that. And it was such a powerful moment because I felt like I was really outside of myself in some ways, and the music was just playing without my effort. And I remember that first experience just so distinctly, and I couldn't do anything wrong. I couldn't make a mistake. It was incredibly powerful, and I knew, that I had kind of reached that sort of meta moment. And I think once you've been able to tap into that, it becomes easier to access that and get in the flow. And then that really becomes transmitted to the audience, and it's something that we have noticed for sure.
And I have to say, I definitely see it there. I haven't been blessed with being able to see you play live yet, but I can feel it in the music when I've listened to your songs. And having met with you and Ashley in person, the synergy and the connection is there. I think most people would look at you and go, now that's the dream relationship. They would look at you and they would say, that's what I view my twin flame being, which is just, it's incredible to see. There's just, I know when I met you, it was like we all just sat there and transcended this space. And it was like nobody else was around, and the dance and the flow of the energy was amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a powerful meeting.
Absolutely. That was so special. We really felt that too. And, it is truly a blessing, our relationship, and we're always, in a place of gratitude, with that. And, it was part of the reason why we decided to, get into music and share the gifts that we had. I think when we first met each other, there was sort of the infatuation, period, the falling in love, through all our similarities and shared passions. But there was also a little bit of, trepidation, to come together, in that way musically and artistically. And perhaps that was,
Yeah, I certainly had, when we first got together, I was very uncertain about pursuing a musical relationship as well as a romantic one. I had seen and experienced myself prior to meeting Jim enough of, to see what the ego can do in that kind of context, and I wanted to have a solid foundation in our relationship before we embarked upon working together in that way. And It wasn't until about 2 years after we had been together that we, decided. Actually, it was kind of strange the way it happened. I was at home one day and I found an old tape of a recording that Jim had done of a song of his, and I put it in, and it was like some kind of weird switch turned on that I had actually stopped the flow of allowing myself to play music for quite a while. And when I made the choice to put that tape in, something just kind of switched inside of me, and I was like, oh my God, I have to play music with him. And I started writing a song, which was, it really probably hasn't happened since because Jim's really the songwriter, but it was a moment of trusting, and opening up, and ever since we've been exploring all the different aspects of our music together, and it's really been a beautiful thing.
It's funny too. We really had other plans at that time. We weren't necessarily seeking to pursue musical career, but I contemplate the words of Joseph Campbell, and there's something that he said that I think is really, really significant, and I think it really ties into the theme that you were talking about and establishing with the whole spring equinox. And he said, we have to be willing to get rid of the life that we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And I think that's really powerful because there's been all these sort of synchronistic moments in our lives that we couldn't get away from the musical career if we tried. It was always presenting itself in some way or some form. And when Ashley had that moment, I think that was sort of the recognition that we had from the very beginning that was a potential direction for us, and it was very powerful. And I think in some ways it was a little almost scary, but I think again that was just fears and in the shadow of the ego, and we had to move past that and be brave enough to heed the call, so to speak.
And I think that is so important when we're bringing the music around, and there's times that definitely these things come out, and I can understand, Ashley, that trepidation there. Because, let's face it, if we look at the record of a lot of musical partners along the way, there's not always the best success rate in there. And,
right, yeah, talk about a negative patterning. We don't really see a lot of successful musicians. They often, if they are really successful, they become total drug addicts, can't handle it, break up with their husband. It's awful, So
it's all kinds of and I think it is tough because your relationship, as you say, has to have these incredibly strong roots founded in it to start with. And I think it's like anybody who is out there in the limelight, musicians, actors, actresses, whoever it is, that you have to know each other, because there's going to be press and there's going to be fake photos out there, and there's going to be fans who go crazy. I mean, look at the incident in Vegas just a couple of months ago with Tim McGraw, and being sued for protecting himself from a friendly fan, shall we say?
Right.
And I mean, if you don't have that security in the relationship, it would be very hard to deal with this, because let's face it, the both of you not only have the chemistry in the music, you have a chemistry physically in the world, that is beautiful, and you both have that appeal physically, and so you have to be very rooted strong, and you bring up a good point. When you come together and this is meant to be, I sincerely believe that Spirit will not allow that to be taken. As long as you continue to stand in the gratitude that you stand in and the appreciation that you stand in with each other, which seems to continue to grow. I think the music only gets stronger, and you're showing that because your music has such a huge diversity in it. Matter of fact, recently I was talking with somebody and they were asking me about it, and I said, well, the way I would describe their music is a blend of
Here we go.
Rafa and Carlos Nakai with a little Celtic flair thrown in there, and a kind of folk rock styling with a hint of Might and Prima Deva coming in. Prima Deva.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
That's really great. Thank you for
like,
that.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. I go, yeah, that's what I think of their music. So
that's great.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, we really, lately, about just a little bit more on the relationship aspect of things. We've been finding that trust is really we've been learning a lot of lessons about that and how to step into our next phase that we are co-creating here, and be able to be in complete trust of each other and complete trust of our path that we've chosen, and that has been a really, really powerful decision to make to really take things to another level and to be in trust of each other and move forward with that. And there's a lot of power struggles in this type of work, out from within and without, so it's a really, really cool place to be in right now.
And trust has been Trust has been huge in the last year, Ashley. You're absolutely right about that. I think for a lot of people, I know myself having to trust my path and take that leap in there and trust I'm going to be okay as I journey down the road. And I wonder to myself, and I'm getting across country how? And Spirit just goes, shut up and you'll get there.
Right.
Get there.
Get yourself out of the way, right?
That's right. Just get yourself out of the way and you'll be fine. We played a song at the very beginning of the show. We opened with Wild Love, and then during the break, we played Across the Bridge. Maybe you can share a little bit about those two songs and what's in those songs for you, or what helps you create them.
Sure. Yes, Wild Love. That was really a song that I wrote. Again, it ties into the sort of getting yourself, and really we're talking about the ego self, out of the way, and not dismissing it per se, but understanding the trappings of false identification with the ego and its tendency to limit, pure potential. And I think that's really what Wild Love is about, is pure potential, unlimited, unbridled potential, and flowing, and in listening to the higher self and trusting in that. And Across the Bridge.
That's an interesting story, actually, because Jim wrote that song probably 18 years ago, maybe, and it was something that we returned to musically. He brought it back out of the closet, and I think when he returned to it, he ended up changing the lyrical content, and it now is a very, very powerful call to arms in a way. I don't want to say to arms because we're not really fighting, but a call to passion, and some of the first lyrics of the second half of the song are: walkers on the path of light in passionate alliance rise, united by the common dream to banish world control and greed. Starseed, godlight, divine spark within ignites. And that's really, it's a powerful line that is when I'm singing it, I feel like there's some really intense energy coming through this song, and it has a lot to do with different interpretations of stories of our history, and as a human race, it's got a lot in there about sort of secret schemes for controlling us, and there's some powerful meanings in this particular song that I think when Jim even wrote it, reading it afterwards, it was a little bit like, whoa, wow, this has a couple more layers than I realized. So,
and I think that happens a lot, that we start something, we don't always realize the layers that were there until we go back and revisit it later on.
Yeah.
Which is why things keep cycling around for it. but you bring in those lyrics another aspect of passion. I mean, the spring equinox kicks off a natural passion between people.
Right.
And that is the mating call. That is the wild love getting started, the fire ignited within. But this brings in a different layer of passion that is so appropriate to this equinox as well.
Right.
And
the
what we're dealing with.
Stanza is actually really relevant too for the equinox, stepping through the veil reborn, expanding, radiating source, through infinite waves returned, released and given back to earth. That's very much, what we're all talking about here with this spring equinox.
Absolutely, and this is powerful. And then across the bridge. What about that one?
Oh, that's actually what I was talking about.
You know what? I think,
sorry.
No, that was probably an easy confusion because I switched pretty quickly over to that song. So those last lines that Ashley read off, or stanzas, I should say, were from Across the Bridge, and just to sort of complete that idea, one of the last stanzas in there is with every step we take within, across the bridge where love transcends all limitations, fear, and doubts, foreboding thoughts that keep us bound. And I think that's where we're at, is shedding the old, shedding our skin so that we can be reborn again into our
new beginnings.
Yeah,
there's a lot to let go of right now, at this time, especially, for us, we're going through our own processes with that, and, we're seeing it, reflected in our relationships with our friends and family and other people, and, a lot of us are going through the sort of pains of shedding that skin and letting go of the old stories that we've been holding on to, and the projections of those stories onto the fear of the future, and that, all those tendencies that are holding us back from birthing the true vision that we have in our lifetime.
And that is so true. We have been asked to let go of so much and cross that proverbial bridge into a new way of being, a new way of thinking, not just because of the seasonal new year, but because we've actually gone through this ascension process over the last 2.5 years, which just completed on the 17th, a couple of days ago. And I think this is so powerful, and we do. We have to be willing to let go if we're going to get to that next space. And that brings me to a song that I'm hoping you can share a little bit about, that I'd like to share with people, that's called Between Worlds. What's behind that one for you?
Well, that it ties in similarly. That's about really, in some ways, emptying oneself in order to get filled up again, and it is about taking that sort of metaphorical journey within and breaking through to the essence of what we are. And it's also about this, a little bit of about our, in an autobiographical way, about our journey and breaking through those walls and being able to take chances and have trust and faith in our service and what we feel we've been called to do. And there's also some imagery in there about us. Let me just back up it here a little bit. There's the idea that there's a lot of distractions. There is a sort of illusory thing going on, and there are still a lot of people who are operating, under this Maya and the illusion of sort of identification with the outer world, with material possessions, with what they believe, who they believe they are, based on over identification with perhaps a religion or their culture or whatever, and there's a line in the song, or a stanza in the song that says, "Across the walls and barricades we have built within is a temple worth finding, but through darkness we begin. Sweet illusions all around to lure us away, polishing the mirror with the longings that we crave." And I think that really kind of reflects, that sort of illusory thing that we're talking about, and the more internal aspect of what's really real within us, and being able to sort of be between the worlds, and again tying into that bridge the spiritual, with this world here, and being able to create that bridge.
And I think that this is so appropriate, and you've given some great things that I encourage people to kind of meditate on when we play this song here. Meditating that it's that darkness, it's that empty space, it's that chaos, as some people call it, where things begin, and that's where we've been for the last 2.5 years. And now we are in the transition for probably about another 5 years, where we are going to be sitting between worlds. And as our listeners are hearing this song, I think it would be great for them to do a little visualization for themselves, or even just tune in on an emotional level and feel themselves getting completely empty, and feel what it would be like to make that breakthrough right now, starting today, and just step out in trust and faith and have that affirmed. I think that would be a really powerful focus for our listeners as they listen to this, and do that, because we are sitting for probably the next 5 years between worlds, between the way things happen and what they're moving into. So let's do that. Let's play this, and let's give them a chance to take a little journey as we go. Will that happen?
Beautiful.
Unfolds me here on a road I've walked for Is that really living if you never roll the dice?
Welcome back. You are listening to Activating Compassion Radio, and today our guests are musical guests Jim and Ashley Cash of Woven Green. And that particular song we were just listening to is called Between the Worlds, and it was kind of giving us a chance to do a little visualizing, meditating with that song in there, and just kind of, letting go and tuning into the breakthroughs, because this is definitely a gigantic breakthrough time on numerous levels, within, without, across the globe, across the universe. It's big time for us. And, Jim and Ashley, I'd love to have some insight for you, from you, I guess, for maybe some of those people out there. Matter of fact, I do want to mention, too, in the chat room, I had somebody, say that, hey, they're really good. I like them.
All right.
It's got a great sound.
Thank you, whoever wrote that. Very nice of you.
And so, maybe share a little bit, because we've been talking about these spring equinox breakthroughs, and I'm sure that there are people out there whose passion is music, and that's something they want to start bringing their music into the world. And we're really in a time, I was thinking about it the other day, I thought, we really haven't had any big breakthrough musicians in several years. I'm still on the current radio stations hearing things like from the 80s and the 90s, and there hasn't been anything new. And I think we're headed into some times, based on what I've seen in the planet, that we're going to start seeing some new artists come out, which we commonly see in times of after depression and things like that anyways. Yeah. But what advice, maybe what suggestions would you have for people who are wanting to bring their passion out?
Well, I think that that we are on the brink of a lot of explosion of excitement and creative energy, and that that's always a good thing to go with when you feel it. But I will say too that the music industry it's changed drastically. Just in the last 10 years even. So it's sort of like new territory in a lot of ways, especially if you're an independent artist. It's like all the old paradigms aren't working there either. So we're really, it's all about empowering yourself and, really just not being afraid to just try it and get out there. And if it means playing in some really difficult gigs or difficult, rooms, or maybe not getting the response you want, you just have to keep doing it. And we've really had to look at that ourselves. Like, it's been kind of grueling at times and difficult. How could this beautiful thing be so hard? But we're still, keeping on with it, and we feel like we're, moving into a new phase with our music, and hopefully our ability to reach more people with it. And I really think that it's about faith, and if you have a gift, you have to let it loose. You can't keep that quiet, and it'll eat you alive in a way if you try to suppress it. And I had tried. I really did. I honestly tried to suppress it, and it didn't work. So, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, things have a funny way of manifesting themselves in ways that we may not always foresee. And sometimes when we have an expectation of how we're going to get to a certain place, that can be dangerous territory, or at least you have to be cautious about of not being attached to the outcome.
And what are your reasons?
And what are the real reasons with it? Because if you're not, if you're finding yourself, no doubt there's going to be challenges, and we can kind of touch on that too. But if you're not having joy with it, if you're in a place where you're too attached to how that's going to look, and then you can really find yourself in a precarious situation, and so there's a lot of voices out there that are going to try to rob you of the purity of what you're putting out there. And the things that have worked for us are balancing our lives with simple things like in certain modalities like being out in nature and being in places of quiet retreat where we're not, always, driven and bombarded by, what we're trying to do. And it gets us out of the mode of trying, too, and doing and just being. And you have to have that space. You have to have that space of just being and allowing. And, again, I think it comes back to that idea of that careful balance of certainly not being lethargic or falling into the false mindset, too, that, I think a lot of people who may have taken this whole law of attraction thing to an extreme and say, well, if I just think it, it's going to happen. Well, no, you have to have the action, too. But I think that if you have too much of one or the other, that's when things can get out of balance. And you have to find that delicate point of meeting the universe halfway. And again, believing and trusting and not letting too many other voices dictate, limitations or how things, will be or should be or, all that.
Okay, you just gave me directions I could go in like 6 different directions and do at least a show on each of them. So I'm going to try to highlight here. It's perfect. It's wonderful because you brought up incredibly great, wonderful points in here that are really important for people to keep in mind when they start on their path. As you say, it's great to have the positive thought, and that can really help set us in motion and help motivate us and all of those things, but we still have to take the action. And as Ashley mentioned, just because you step onto your passion and your creativity, and we hear this frequently, if you just follow that, all the doors will open up and life will be a miracle. Well, I believe life will be a miracle, but what we forget is that miracle is oftentimes found in the challenges. And that those so-called overnight sensations have always, have a lot of times been working on things for 10 years or 20 years, and I'm not saying that everybody's going to take that long to get there, but they're not genuinely, normally overnight sensations, It's not like somebody goes down and goes, I wonder what it would be like to pick up a saxophone, go down to the music store, pick up the saxophone, walk out in the park, start playing, and all of a sudden somebody's discovered them, and they're, the next day they've got a contract. It doesn't quite work that way in this world.
Well, yeah, and I think what you're saying about the challenges is so important, too, because, we can look back at ourselves over the last 10 years of having been together and doing this, and we can see, like, places where we were so frustrated and we felt so not supported. And, when we look back at those, we wouldn't have been ready at that time. We wouldn't have been ready to handle, taking it to the next level then. We needed this training ground. We needed to make these mistakes. We needed to get a little lost on the way and have the challenges to present that sort of pushback to go, oh my God, that's my big fat ego. Okay, well let me let me look at that again, and or let me lick my wounds for a little while and figure out what it is that is really driving my passion and get clear with it. And so it isn't all pretty at all, but
I think I've had some great sparring matches with my ego.
What's that?
I said I think I've had some great sparring matches with my ego along the way.
Oh, yeah. It's not, I think following your bliss does not mean your life will be blissful.
Well, it's funny that Ashley mentioned that, too, because we oftentimes, share a brain, and I was just getting ready to mention that, too. I really was, which is no surprise. But, yeah, we really fell in love with Joseph Campbell's work early on, and one of the things, one of the famous quotes that I think people may have misinterpreted a little bit is the whole "follow your bliss," idea. And I know later, Joseph Campbell had reflected on that idea, and what he was saying was that it's not that you should always expect that your life is going to be blissful or happy. The hero's journey is filled with trials and tribulations, and the following your bliss is all part of experiencing the pains and pleasures of it, and being okay with that, and taking the challenge, and I think that's really wise, because that's certainly what we've come to just appreciate and be in the balance with.
Well, and definitely, and I think that the reality of it is no matter what we're doing in life, there are going to be some trials and tribulations, because that's sort of what we're here to do. We're here to learn, and we're here to experience. And you mentioned also, Jim, about being unattached to the outcome, and this is a big one that I talk about all the time. Get unattached to that outcome, because that's like saying, darn it, I'm going to get to this destination if it kills me. And you know what? Sometimes it does for people, I hate to say.
Right.
But we need to let go of that and say, it really isn't about that. It's about the journey. It's about the experience that you're having in the journey, and it's what you're getting along the way. And what makes it fulfilling is not always that it's an easy road, but, oftentimes I've found in my challenges, I've had some of the greatest, most fulfilling experiences of my life. But that getting unattached to the outcome where you can, once you do that, I feel like that's the space that you can really embrace what the divine is working with you on. That's the space where you really start to get to enjoy it, because the ego steps out of the way,
right,
basically, and that's where you really get into the meat of the journey, so to say. And you mentioned also about reasons, really look at the reasons, and whether somebody's looking to be a musician or otherwise. I think this is an important thing, and I stress this because when we look at the planetary influences right now, it's all about integrity. And you're not going to get away from integrity, from dealing with whatever your choices are. If you choose to go forward strictly because of the money and the celebrityness and the prestigeness, you may be sacrificing some other things, and you may find yourself in some spirals that you don't want to be in. We're seeing this particularly when we look at the coinciding of Pluto and Capricorn and how that's going to affect big corporations, and we're going to see some downfalls. We're going to continue to see a lot of exposure of big corporations for a while in things and big government things and stuff like that. So when we get down to it, integrity is a really huge key. And if the reasons you're doing something is because you're really truly passionate about it, you really have an energy about it, it really opens your heart, and you're willing to do it in integrity. And I know this has been a challenge for my work, where people have said, oh, just take this out, just take one more loan out, we'll thrust you into the limelight. And I'm like, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. That's not the energy I want to feed. And so I think knowing those reasons behind why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you genuinely love it, or are you doing it because of the money and the prestige and things like that? And that is so important with what we were talking about, because it's not going to be an easy road. So if you're doing it for any reason besides loving it, it's going to be a challenge. And now you're both very passionate. I call you musicians with a purpose. You have other passions there about the earth as well. And I'm thinking that, I don't know, I'm jumping off of intuition here, so I could be wrong, that possibly some of your other passions in life and what you're bringing forth, your purpose in life, may be tied to the song Moving Mountains. Am I right, or am I off key, way off?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's, right on.
Yeah, we've been, environmental activists for a while, and, we had to really think about what that means. And, we really, really want to change the apathy that we see in relationship to the earth, and the way that people really don't, it's not in a lot of people's consciousness. They're not aware of what's happening, and some of that's deliberate, but, we've always wanted to herald that cause and bring that to people's attention. And we consider different ways of doing that. Okay, do we join Greenpeace? Do we go out, and sign petitions? How are we going to go about that? And, when we really asked ourselves that, it was like, well, we need to put that into our music because that's part of sharing the awareness, and that's, that's really where our gift is. So we can't get off track by that, the passion of wanting to, fight against the corporations and everything that are sort of sowing the seeds of dissent around, the relationship to the earth and everything. So, we found a way to fuse it into what we're doing with our music, and hopefully it's helped.
And it's all very natural too. A lot of times when I'm writing a song, oftentimes the guitar or the written, I should say, the instrumental aspect of it will come first. I might have a melodic idea or, a rhythm or chord progression that I'm using, and I'll reflect on what the music is trying to convey, because I feel there's a story in there waiting to be told. And it was only natural for me to incorporate, our passion for the earth and the environment. And, going back to, something that you were saying about the corporations and, about what is motivating our reasons for doing anything, what is our service? These are questions that we need to ask, and they're very important questions. And, if we're operating still under the paradigm of profit at the expense of, other people or the planet, then, we're going to see a lot of pain and suffering. And we have seen a lot of pain and suffering. And so I think that we really need to change the way we think about that. And the profit should be about how we uplift everybody, the people, all the people on the planet, and we make the world a more sustainable and better place to live in. And that's part of our message. And the message there is hopefully one to empower people to not be afraid of speaking their voice about these issues, because I think that a lot of people probably are passionate about it, but they're also suppressed, and they also feel a lot of fear of what other people might think, about, saying some of the things that they are saying. And I think we're definitely moving beyond that. More people are becoming uninhibited in that way, but we're happy to help people sort of emerge from that shell.
Yeah, and another aspect of that is, especially I get to witness Jim writing his songs, and I see often, when anyone is faced with a shadow and a dark side of things, it can be very difficult to process. And what songwriting does for Jim personally, from where I'm sitting anyway, sorry to speak for you, but is it's a healing process. It's a way to process those emotions, those difficult things, and seeing the devastation and seeing the apathy and seeing the just disregard for the planet. It hurts on a soul level. It's a very painful thing to witness. And many people just have learned how to kind of shut that off, and they're desensitized. They just kind of don't go there. But, we go there, and we look at it. And these songs are a way to internally heal that process. How do we look at this, and how do we find some piece of beauty to share with people and show them that, this is happening, but that we can come together, or it's an interesting healing process as well.
And you sit in a really great place of power, because music is an incredible catalyst for doing this. It's one of those ones that is maybe easier in some ways than the outright protesting of things.
Right.
If people are ready to listen to that, they're more accepting of that coming through. But it is an example that we can't just harbor these desires inside of us, and we do need to find whatever our outlet is for providing that healing, for speaking up. And as you say, definitely more and more people are getting comfortable with taking their stand and things and in speaking up about things, and it's brought a lot of awareness to the forefront, because I can say even for myself, I wasn't aware of a lot of things 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I was dealing with some health issues that were going on with food and things like that. And people speaking up have brought that out and allowed me to be aware and be more proactive in how I handle my life and what I do. So I think these are very important things. And I know you guys have had your challenges as well in venues, places because of your passion. But you bring out also another good point, which I've mentioned to many people when they're bringing their passion out, which is what does the music want? You said, what does the music want to be? What does it want to convey? And I've talked to store owners about this. I say, go in and take a look at your store and ask it every day, what do you want to become? As opposed to forcing our own will there, per se. But what do you want to develop into? And it starts to bring a different layer of success and harmonizing and synchronizing that is really powerful. I'm going to play the song Moving Mountains and give people a chance to listen to that for a moment. And when we come back from this song, we're going to delve into a point that you brought up also in the process of all those other great points, which is about nature, and talk about that.
Awesome.
Where the craggy gods once stood tall. blast away your rock-strewn plateau. Moving mountains, stand aside, gonna lay the hillside low. Moving mountains, blast away your rock-strewn plateau. Moving mountains, stand aside, gonna lay the hillside low. Moving mountains, blast away your rock-strewn plateau. Moving mountains, stand aside, gonna lay the hillside low.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And welcome back to Activating Compassion Radio. And you were just listening to actually a live version of Moving Mountains with Jim and Ashley Cash, who are of Wogan Green, and they are my guests today on Activating Compassion Radio. And if you missed any part of the show, I really encourage you to go back and listen to it from the beginning, because we've been incorporating a lot of things about the spring equinox going on, what's happening in our world today, their thoughts, their insights into their music, and, you know, this is just a really powerful show, and you definitely want to catch it from the beginning on there. So, you know, Jim and Ashley, one of the things that you mentioned a little bit before we played that song was you mentioned that sometimes you just need to go out and be in nature, and, you know, it kind of gets you out of that forced state and opens things up. And one of the areas that you're doing more work with, I would say, I guess, in recent times, is doing this sort of sound healing aspect, working with sounds of nature. Love for you to share a little bit more about that.
Sure, yeah, that has been a very exciting, a new field that we've kind of opened up into. And, well, I guess we've explored it for the last couple of years, and again, it's sort of one of those things that seem inevitable. We had certain synchronistic, events occur, and people that we have met that have opened up that path for us, and we've always been into, meditation and healing ambient music, bowls and Native American flutes and all that stuff. And I think that we thought, a while back that would be something that we would get into, later, many years down the road, as we sort of settled down or whatever. But the time was now to sort of open that up, and it's been a real joy. It's also been very healing to explore that aspect of ourselves. And
and the nature sounds in particular have been a really fun thing. We've been collecting, we have frogs and crickets and cicadas and just sounds that we have just right here by the Potomac River at our house, in the park nearby, and those sounds that we find so important, just the act of taking off your shoes and walking in the woods a little bit, or just being outside, away from all the intensity, and away from the drive to do and be and create. The sounds can immediately remind you, or you hear those frogs singing. It just takes you immediately into a different brainwave state where you can let go. And being able to incorporate that into the musical aspects of what we're doing has been a really, really fun project. That's funny enough, we've had so much intensity about having a rock band, and then on the other side doing the sound healing. It's been really, really important for us to have that balance. And we're finding now we're like doing a big meditation and a sound meditation event one night, and then the next night, going out and playing a heavy rock, and then we're in church, and it's like we're covering all the aspects of what we need for expression. So.
And you're definitely multidimensional as musicians, as we've been hearing through your music and the show. And it's interesting because we have the nature sounds around. Let's face it, decades ago, a couple of decades ago, they came out with, the clocks that wake you up to nature sounds. And, of course, one of my previous guests, Stephen Halpern, has done work with that. But I think this is becoming more and more important again. It's not just like, hey, let's listen to nature and synchronize the brainwave a little bit, as it's been in the past. This is becoming a critical piece for, as you say, actually balance in the world, because more and more people are stuck to that iPad or the iPhone or the computer, and they're not getting out in nature. And there's a lot of times that they can't for whatever reason because of their work, and they're working these intense hours. And I tell people, put something like this on in the background, because it will help you synchronize, it'll help you flow better with your work, you'll be more efficient, and you won't be so stressed out. And it's not just about the stress factors, but it's about what we've been talking about during the show today as well, which is the natural cycles and the seasons. And it synchronizes us to those cycles. And that is invaluable, because that's what keeps us connected with spirit on earth and allows us to do the earthly manifestations while staying in the spiritual space.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I find this a very, very powerful aspect in here. Has there been any particular transformation? You talk about enjoying jumping from the rock to the to the soundscapes and creating that balance, but has there been any particular experience that has stood out in the process of doing the soundscape work?
Yeah,
or maybe you want to share with the song Dream Pond that you created.
With the, I'm sorry.
Dream Pond.
Oh, Dream. Yeah, no, absolutely. There was major transformation
the solstice, really,
that you're touching upon, and actually it was right around the solstice last year. We had some interesting breakthroughs and certain psychic phenomena that had taken place. It would be really elaborate to talk in too much detail about now, but essentially it opened up a space for us to clear out some energy and old stories and move into this also into this space here. And we had just done a radio interview up in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. This was last summer, right before the solstice, I believe, and we stopped after. The conversation that we had was very much tied into Native American culture and the reverence and respect that they had for nature and their sort of spiritual understanding of the world. And shortly after that, we had stopped in this New Age bookstore after we had that radio show. And there were Native American flutes up on display for sale. And Ashley had prompted me to try one out. Now, I had been dabbling with flutes via, MIDI, which is, through keyboards, exploring, sound healing meditation with a project that I was working on with a friend of ours. So I had a pull towards that instrument, but I hadn't actually considered, actually playing on one yet. And that prompting had occurred there in the store, and I immediately felt this familiarity with that instrument, and it was definitely a sort of magical moment for me, and then it was we ended up buying that flute, and and then a couple of weeks later, we had started. I started composing with it. It was just almost kind of an immediate creative exploration, and in the process, Ashley was also discovering her voice in a new way through vocal toning and frequencies, and also using Tibetan bowls, and so some really beautiful stuff was emerging from that. But the Dream Pond sample that you're referring to, that is part of a project that we are currently working on we're getting ready to actually launch a pledge music campaign. Where we'll be asking for, love offerings to help support
it's really
them.
to pledge to pre-order the CD. We're actually going to have a release date on the solstice for our first meditation CD, which we felt was fitting considering that was when he got his first flute and I got my first bowl. So we're going to be releasing that CD on the 21st of June, but we have a pledge drive that's going to start in April, actually, and you'll have a chance to pre-order the CD, in order to help us out a little bit, just to get some money up front so that we can take care of the expenses that are involved in an album and all that. Yes, that's one of our exciting directions that's going on right now.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. So, anyways, the Dream Pond is just a sample of, we're basically putting 4 meditations together that are about 20 minutes in length, and each one will be themed a little bit differently. So
this is exciting, and here again, bringing it full circle into the seasons and the cycles of the year. And it's very interesting, the timing of how that came to you. Obviously from another seed planted, but, it started to grow and develop. And here you are a year later, or whatever amount of time later, in the same timing of the year, with these influences that are really going to allow you to thrive and flourish in this arena. And I love the singing bowl.
Yeah, we felt really happy. On the last solstice, we actually had... we created a medicine wheel, and we did a blessing ceremony for it, and we set forth a lot of the intentions that have brought us into this year, and it's really been such a powerful year since then, and there's so much to look forward to right now. It's kind of overwhelming.
Actually, when we completed the medicine wheel, it was on the summer solstice, and what we were doing is we were carrying rocks from the nearby stream, maybe about a half mile from where the medicine wheel is located, and we did that very carefully, in a sort of meditative state, drawing to us which stones that we wanted to use, and asking if they wanted to be removed from their previous location to this sacred spot. And the last stones that we took and carried over to the medicine wheel is really interesting experience happened. I've never felt anything quite like this before, but we had one of our friends who was also participating in the completion of the circle, and her and I were carrying the last stones to be placed in the cardinal directions, and we felt this vibration, in our arms. It started in our hands and just went up our arms, and I had sensed it. And before I could say anything about it, our friend Katrina had voiced out this that she was experiencing this vibration, this intense vibration, and I was in awe. Because I was experiencing the same thing, and as we sort of affirmed what we were feeling, that vibration went through our whole body, and it was just incredibly intense and quite magical.
And that's a great example of how oftentimes when, again, we're doing things with purpose, with integrity, asking permission, and I can just imagine the whole journey and the symbology behind carrying these stones that distance to finally put these final pieces into place. And what you're describing is very similar to what I've heard people describe when they bring together, for example, crystal skulls and the vibrations that happen. And I've seen it myself in work that I've done in the past with this. And so very powerful experiences, not only the connecting with nature and the being in nature, but the way the energy brings about this resonance when we're operating with reverence. And I want to go ahead and play this sample and give people a chance to experience this, because this is something that they then need to connect with you and be open to what you're bringing in and the work that you're doing regarding this area as well. And again, this
Excellent.
is Dream Pond Sample.
I don't know, maybe you can. Want to try it? Go ahead, try it. Or
And you are listening to Activating Compassion Radio. This is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and today's guests are Jim and Ashley Cash of Woven Green, and that song that we were just listening to is actually called Dream Pond Sample, which is a new, kind of newer area that they're going into, and that's working with soundscapes, Native American flutes. I think for the such short amount of time that you've been working with those instruments, really a phenomenal bringing together of that work, I have to say. It sounds like you've been doing it for years and years and years. So.
Yeah, it's funny. When he picked up that flute, something just sort of happened. I think I don't know, what it was, but it was as if he had been playing it his whole life. So.
Yeah, there was that feeling of familiarity, with it, and it definitely felt definitely felt that way. It felt like I had a relationship with this, already, and it's a special feeling for sure.
Yeah, so we're real excited about that, the CD, because it's, each of the tracks is 20 minutes, and they all sort of go on a bit of a journey, so there's different, phases in each one, and it's, designed for meditation. Definitely not driving music.
I could totally just sit back and listen to that and go, and it actually reminds me, it transcends me in a way that when I first started on my journey in meditation and visualization was very, very powerful, working in combination with gemstones and crystals and things like that. And I was doing a lot of healing work, like quantum energy healing work. And this was like 35 years ago. and it was Stephen Halpern, and it was, I'm trying to think who the other group was. It wasn't Carlos Nakai, but it was another group that was right in that same time. Matter of fact, Stephen Halpern worked with, it's Kitaro. That's who it reminds me of in some ways, it's Kitaro. And
yeah, awesome.
I would have the most powerful meditations and visualizations working with that music, and I have not heard anything probably since then that has taken me to a journey the way this does. So in my book, that's a huge compliment.
Yay!
Thank you. That's so awesome.
Yeah, we've actually been doing these meditations live lately, and that's been a really, really interesting experience because, we have we do it for an hour, and we have a room full of people, and everybody afterwards always has these really interesting experiences, and they tell us all about their journey and where they went and what they saw, and it's been really, really, really cool to open that up and also make it accessible for people to get into meditative states without. Sometimes people don't know. They don't know how to do it. They don't, maybe know how to do it without sound. It's like your mind just goes crazy and you can't quite sit down and settle it. And, music has a way of sort of guiding without too much brain work. So
it's been really interesting to see the sort of wave, the sort of new wave of people getting into sound healing. Even a famous actor, Jeff Bridges, has been, out there creating, meditative, soundtrack CDs, and it's really neat to see, sort of this, uprising of people, creating, getting into the power of sound and resonance, and it's neat to have found ourselves, in that field. So very exciting stuff.
Very exciting, and I think it just comes back to it's what connects us with our natural rhythm, and as you brought up earlier, it really when we pick something up like you did with the flute gem, and it's coded in us. It's obviously something we've done in lifetimes. I mean, this is where the types of things like Mozart sits down and plays the piano at 3 years old. You can't do that without having some sort of past life just coding in there that you are soul coding. And it's so important to listen to that when it comes along. And people oftentimes say, how do I know what my past lives are about to me? And I go, pay attention to what you're really drawn to what just sparks this interest in you that you may not be able to explain it, but you're supposed to pick that up and try it or work with it. And I know when I picked up and worked with the singing bowls and the Tibetan singing bells, it's just to me, I'm gone. I'm off in this whole other space with it, and it's just magnificent. Now, I would love to have you guys take a couple of minutes here and kind of share maybe where people can connect with you, where you have things that you're going on, how they can say, hey, can you guys come in and do a healing event for us? How do they do that?
Absolutely. We've recently launched a new website, and that's wovengreenmusic.com. And you can really find out all about everything that we're doing there. We have, regular monthly soundscape meditations here in the Northern Virginia area. And our pledge drive is going to be beginning in April. So as long as you sign up on for our email list, which we don't send out crazy amounts of emails, just a regular, once a month type of thing. But if you sign up for that, then you'll know about our pledge drive. And you can also like us on Facebook, so you can, learn how to get this new meditation CD that's coming out. And I believe at the end of the program, we're going to be playing Leap of Faith, which is also a bonus track on our new CD. So if you feel drawn to that, there will be a way for you to get that in both download form and CD form. But please visit our website to learn all about that. And we also have another project, which is sort of a side thing that we've been starting here, and that's actually our new rock band, which is called One Leap. And it's a very positive-driven, classic rock style music. So we have our hands on a bunch of things. So if you want to learn about any of that, we are touring regularly locally around Northern Virginia area, and we are hoping next summer to be on the road a little bit more. So if anyone listening has a desire to bring us out to where you are, or to have a private meditation, sound healing session, anything like that, we have ways to contact us on our website.
Again, there's a couple other things, too. Part of the pledge drive that we're going to be doing, part of the pledge exclusives include, say, if you donate a certain amount of money, we'll offer private, sound healing session at your home. And so we have a variety of different options for those who want to support that. And also some of the proceeds to that will go to
the World Sound Healing Charity.
The World Sound Healing Charity. Something that we really believe in too. So it's all very exciting. We've got a number of different facets to what we're doing with Woven Green itself, and then also with One Leap. So there's the sound healing aspect of what we're doing with Woven Green. Ashley and I also still have the ensemble, which is the same members within the band who are part of the sort of, I guess, more acoustic, driven aspect of what we're doing, and which is a lot of fun. And then, Ashley and ourselves are also out on the road, performing as a duet and sometimes a trio with a percussionist, and we do a lot of Sunday morning church services at Unitarian and Unity churches and spiritual centers and that sort of thing. And it's been a real joy and blessing to reach people in that way too.
And I do encourage people, and definitely I want to stay posted on that. And I was just sitting here listening to you going, okay, I need to get my manifestation ticket going because I want one of those private healing sessions. And I know I've said it before, but I just dream of bringing you into some sort of collaboration with me for some sort of retreat down the line of things.
Yeah, I think
because you guys are
so many possibilities. It's exciting. I can't wait till you come out this way again and we can connect some more.
I will be out there this fall, and I'm just so excited about what you're doing, and I could just imagine, how powerful that would be to experience. And I definitely encourage people, share the show, help them out, get signed up on their email list so that you can stay on top of when this pledge drive starts. You guys kind of remind me in some ways of Shenshai, whose music that I use on the show regularly. And when I met them, they were kind of doing the same thing. They were starting in these little venues, and they were all around Sedona. And then, the next thing I know, I go and look, and they've got, like, multiple CDs, and they're traveling the world. And, and it's kind of like, wow, they boomed really quick, didn't they? But, same kind of thing, just this passion and this sincere, genuine energy for their music. And so give us a little insight. We've talked about that again, wovengreenmusic.com. You have a beautiful website. I absolutely love it. There, go and check it out. Buy some CDs while you're there, because you won't regret it. before my events in Ojai. Matter of fact, I was playing the CDs that you guys gave me, and I'm like, I'm just going to play this, and it's going to put me in a fantastic space going into my venues, and that's what I did. And I will just start doing that before every venue, I'm sure.
Oh, my God.
That's great.
That's so beautiful. Well, we can't thank you enough for having us on your show. And, and also, too, we want to say how excited we are for you and all the wonderful work that you have been doing and your journey. It's truly inspiring, and it's a blessing.
Thank you. So if you can, give us a little summary here of what you'd like to leave everybody with, and maybe tie that in with leap of faith for it as we're on this beautiful equinox time.
Honor yourself. Don't be afraid to take chances, and follow the path with heart. And that's what leap of faith is. I think that's a perfect way to end this show for today.
Wonderful. It has just been such a joy and such a pleasure. And I am so, so grateful that you could be on my Spring Equinox show with me and sharing this energy and helping bring forward just these amazing, amazing things into the world. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
And as we look forward into the upcoming weeks here on Activating Compassion Radio with us, I was trying to think, next week, who do I have? And I don't even have the notes in front of me of who's coming out. I know who I have next week. I've got Claire Candy Hugh, and you're going to love to listen into her show because it's all about twin flames and soulmates. What a perfect accompaniment and follow-up to this and to the time of year that we're in, where people are really starting to step into those. We've had soulmates that have been with us. A lot of people have noticed soulmates stepped in during the last 3 to 5 years here, and they were here to see us through this ascension process, and now a lot of people are going to be opening up to finding their true twin flames. So this is exciting times, and it's going to be great to have her on. You can, again, check out all of my work, video tips that I have going on, which I put out every month, books that I have. Matter of fact, right now, Activating Compassion is available for only 99 cents as an ebook. That is my March special, so you can still pick that up before the end of this month. Again, check out Jim and Ashley's music, www.wovengreenmusic.com. Go in there, get your own CDs. We've shared a little piece of it. They've got a huge variety of stuff, depending on what your kind of preferences are for music. Beautiful stuff on there. Again, I'm on tour right now. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, broadcasting to you from the beautiful Bay in the spring equinox here. Getting ready to go from here after this weekend's events. I'll be headed up to Portland, Oregon, doing some work at workshops and private sessions at Healing Waters and Sacred Spaces. And then from there, I'm going to do a event, and I'll also have an event that is an Adventures of Integration Day there in the Portland area, followed by an Adventures of Integration Day in the Leavenworth, Washington area. From there, I go on over to Denver, Colorado, where I'll be at Knick Knack Nook for a couple of weekends. And then from there, I'm going into South Dakota, into the Black Hills with an Adventures of Integration Day there. And then that's going to be followed up. I'll be heading over into Illinois. I'll be going into a little venue I was at there. Inner Wisdom is a great little spot, doing some workshops and private sessions there. And going from there down to Kansas City, Missouri. I'll be working my way all the way on up into Traverse City, Michigan by mid-June, and then over into the East Coast. So watch for all those great venues coming up. You can sign up for things. A lot of Adventure of Integration Days being worked into that, seasonal events and weekend events being worked into that as well. Again, Jesse and Nichols Torch, the1.com. You'll find all of that information. Don't forget, we've got several shows here on Main Street Universe throughout the week. Monday nights, we have Brandy Goldberg doing Vedic astrology. Tuesdays, we have Susan Weed sharing her work in herbs and natural plants. Right now, she's in a series called 13 Magical Trees. Wednesday nights is our flagship show with Daniel and Janice. And Janice is branching out and doing her own show once a month, as well as Jim and Ashley, who we had on today, do their own show once a month right here on Main Street University. You want to follow up with that. And that means our main show, flagship show, is oftentimes followed up with spiritual insights with Darren Bouquet, who's a reader at Madame Mouveau in New Orleans. Kevin Baird's popping in every now and then with his work with his new companion. This is Jessie Ann Nichols, George, and I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you to all of our listeners, not only on Plus Talk Radio, but those streaming live on PEN, known as Pair Encounters Network, StreamFinder, TalkStream Live, and those catching our podcast at iTunes, TuneIn.com, and those catching the YouTube version of our show. I definitely look forward to seeing you back here next week as we delve more into activating compassion. Hey, don't forget that if you've enjoyed the show today, share it with others. It's going to be available at the same link in our archive. And I'm going to leave you today with a song by today's guest called Leap of Faith. And this is by Woven Green, Jim and Ashley Cash. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you again next week right here on Activating Compassion Radio. May you enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a truly amazing week.